Hi, this is Seth with Finite, and today I will show you how easy it is to manipulate an Inventor model with the Finite software. Here's a model of a pump I created. You can see it's made up of a multitude of different parts. There is the main housing. There is also the inlet and outlet flanges. There is an impeller on the inside. There is a bearing housing. And there's a sealing arrangement, made up of either a packing seal or a mechanical seal. I'm now going to close that model, and I'm going to open up the Finite software. In the Finite software, you will see filtering buttons at the top. You can see the workspace area on the left. You can see how you can filter by workspace. You could filter by workflow. You could filter by the parameters, or you could filter by the properties. I'm now going to show you how to filter workspace for the model that you saw. I type in the first few letters for the word that's in the file name. It happens to be Finite Pump. I'm going to drag that into the workflow. I'm also going to drag the drawing associated with that because I'm also wanting to change the drawing too. I'm now searching for volute. I'm bringing the volute into the workflow because I will be working with that file as well. I'm now going to search by the letter S, and there's a number of files I want to bring in. First, the seal chamber. Next, the shaft. Next, the shaft sleeve. And finally, I want to bring in the support. I'll be manipulating all of these files during the process. I'm now going to search for bearing housing. I type in BE and find the bearing housing and the bearing cover. I drag that into the workflow. Now, I'm going to filter for the impeller. I type in I, M, and I have dragged the impeller into the workflow. I am now going to search for the wear ring. I type in WE, find the wear ring, and drag it into the workflow. So as you can see, I'm dragging files that I want to use from the workspace to the workflow. Finally, I search for the packet seal assembly and I drag it into the workflow. These are files that I'll be using. So now, what I want to do is activate the files that I want to work with. So I right-click to highlight all of these and I hit Activate. This will take a few minutes as it goes through every file and activates that file in that pump model. Once this is done, I will find some other files that I would like to activate that are further down the pump tree. I'm going to click Reuse because I do not want to create new files. Here's some other files that I want to click Reuse on, so I'm going down to the tree and I'm clicking the Reuse button. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can right-click and hit Reuse, or you can individually click them off on the right. Now, I'm going to highlight those two files, the key, impeller, and the mechanical seal. I'm going to activate those. I also want to reuse them, so I'm going to click Reuse. I'm going to make a group out of the mechanical seal because I'm going to use that group to switch out the mechanical seal for a packing seal arrangement. Now I'm going to filter by the workflow, and I need to link drawing files to the files that are in the main model. So, I typed VO for volute, now I'm going to type S for seal chamber. Right-click to link those files. I'm also going to link the shafts. Then, I'm going to link the shaft sleeves. Finally, let's link the supports. I'm going to come back up and I'm going to filter for the bearing. So now, I want to link the bearing housing to the IPT file associated with the bearing housing drawing. I'm going to click on the bearing cover and do the same. Now, I'm going to filter for the impeller. I'm going to right-click, link the impeller to the impeller IPT file that's associated with the drawing. Now I'm going to do the same for the wear ring. Now that I've linked all the files that I need to link, I'm going to come up and I'm going to assign the packing seal assembly to group 1. You'll see why later. Now I'm going to identify the parameters that I want to modify. So I filter by parameter. And then I'm going to type in V. And I'm going to identify every one of these parameters in the parameter window. And I'm going to check similar. And that means I'm going to be using and modifying those parameters. If you didn't want to modify any of those parameters, or you just wanted to modify just some of them, you didn't have to click them all. You could just click the ones you want to modify. I'm going to do the same thing for the impeller, and I'm going to do the same thing for the impeller key. I'm going to also check similar, and I'm going to modify those parameters in my form. Do the same thing for the shaft. Also do the same thing for the shaft sleeve. Now that I've selected all the parameters that I need to modify, I'm going to run the workflow to create a form. I'm now going to bring up the Inventor window. I'm going to switch out the mechanical seal for the packing seal. That's why I made group 1. Now, I'm going to backspace. I'm going to change this dimension to 102. I'm going to change this dimension, the volute, to 165. I'm going to change this dimension to 140. I'm going to change this dimension to 78. I'm going to change this dimension of the volute to 100. I'm going to change this parameter to 4. I'm going to change the 142 to a 125. I'm going to change this parameter to 4. And now I'm going to modify the impeller. I'm going to change this parameter to 18. I'm going to change this parameter to 9. This parameter from 14 to 11.8. This parameter from 8 to 6. And this parameter from 140 to 151. Now I'm going to modify the shaft. I'm going to change 22 to 18. I'm going to change the 11 parameter to 9. I'm going to change the 8mm parameters to 6mm. I'm going to change the 22mm parameter of the shaft sleeve to 18. And now I'm going to modify the impeller key. I'm going to change the 8mm width to 6mm. I'm going to change the length of 24mm of the key to 22mm. I'm going to change the height of the key from 8mm to 6.2mm. Now I'm going to run the flow. Watch what happens. FYENITE opens up every single model that's associated with the files that you dropped into the workflow. It's now opening up the volute housing. And it's modifying the volute housing flanges and the diameter to the parameters that you specified. Now you're seeing it open up all the other different files. This is the impeller. You're going to see the impeller change number of vanes in diameter. This is the main shaft. You can see that the end of the shaft changed and the keyway changed. Here's the shaft sleeve. This is also changing in parameters to the parameters that you specified. Here's the shaft key that we modified. That's the packing seal arrangement. And here's the completed model that has been modified to the parameters that you have specified. But wait, it gets better. Now Finite is opening the drawings associated with all the parts that you have modified, and it's going to modify those as well. It takes a second for this to happen because there's a lot of computations going on behind the scenes. And here's the main drawing of the pump. There's the volute, there's the bearing cover, the housing, and you can see how quickly Finite is changing these drawings to the parameters that you specified. And that's basically how Finite works. In a matter of minutes, we were able to modify roughly 11 parts and 11 drawings with just changing the parameters within a form. These workflows that you have created can be saved and used in a later date, which would speed up the process of designing and changing existing designs. Here are the drawings associated with the changes that you made. And that is a brief look on how Finite works. Thank you.